Welcome back into another episode of the Spaceman 2.0 Phoenix Truth Rising Show. Here to help you grow in the knowledge and wisdom of truth, and the truth will set you free. So in this episode, we're going to get into the crucifixion of Jesus, Emmanuel, and how Gabriel, the archangel, tells the story. And now I'm going to put this out on a Thursday, keeping in mind that Christ was in the tomb for 3.5 days. And if you do the math from there, that would leave half of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and resurrecting Sunday or Monday. If he went in on Friday, did he come out on Monday or Tuesday? Because that would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So having said that, I believe it could have been Thursday. Some people say it was Thursday. Having the Jewish day starts at 6 p.m. So that would be Thursday at 6 would be Friday starting, just like Friday at 6 would be Saturday starting. So the timelines can be a little bit confusing, but it could have been on a Thursday before their Passover began on Friday. With that being said, let's get on into, and they called his name Emmanuel. I am Sananda. Gabriel tells of the crucifixion. I come this day that I might notarize myself. I am Gabriel of the archangelic realms of light. I come in that it is easier to speak objectively as observer than as participant. I am the bearer of the seed of the Christos onto thy place of density. So I was in the beginning, so shall I be in the ending. Gabriel, who has shared with Earthman since the beginning of Earthman. Mine seed has grown and passed his final initiation in the places of the Most High, hATONnn, Creator Source, and ruler of the human races. hATONnn, one with the creation, birth of the creation. Mine light of lights came not unto you 2,000 years ago to bring peace unto a heinous land of evil. He, now blessed with his earned labels of Sananda, came forth as Emmanuel to show of man the way through truth and wisdom, for thy place was dark and evil. The beauteous sun Lucifer had been cast forth from the realms of glory and order onto the tiny planet of earth, that he might mend of his ways. It was ordained that the lighted one would come forth in the proper time to begin to reclaim the souls in punishment with the fallen angel. It made it not easier to fulfill the initiation and mission upon thy place. Sananda has been many times since on thy surface to meet you ones in physical embodiment, to appear here and there, and that he might be remembered, and you might be reminded of his presence. He has grown into his total inheritance and has accepted the responsibilities thereof. It is now come the time of involvement, wherein he shall come forth again to reclaim God's kingdom and return his people onto their rightful birthright in the realms of light. You, dear ones, Sananda is a son whom I cherish and revere above all others, for he has grown in perfection, and the creation reflects in purity that wondrous perfection. You ones of earth must now revise thy thinking patterns. This beloved of beloved, Christ Masters, has undergone his final initiation, and with it comes a new title, little ones. You shall accept and know him as Sananda. He is the director of the new dispensation. You have passed from under the old law, just as those of the ancient times of the law of Moses passed into the newness with the birthing of Izu, Jesus, Emmanuel. You have reached thy own fulfillment of the prophecies and closing of a cycle of experience of a planet and its people. These laws have been in the revealing from some years of thy counting, and few have accepted them. It is now time that they come forth in mass projection, that man can have access to intelligent choices about his soul placement. With that being said, I'm going to get into another episode with those laws that are given to us in another Phoenix journal. And you can even place them on the tree of life, which is quite amazing. Ask of no man his opinion. It opens the door for the sinister forces. Keep your own counsel. Seek the light, and you shall find therein all which you have asked, and that which you have sought. If you ask in the name of the lighted ones, you shall receive thy truth and confirmation. Mine son, Sananda, shall stand porter at the gate, that nothing enter into thy port, which is of darkness. He shall also stand porter at the gate of the universal dimensions, that all men be counted in justice as measured by their earth experiences. You ones of earth have forgotten thy source. You shall now be in thy remembering, and for some who tarry, it shall be most unpleasant. I most unquestionably suggest you not deny this liberator for this thy final opportunity to balance thine selves. So, as it is written, it shall come to pass in thy time upon this place. I, Gabriel, place mine seal upon these words, and it is I who holds the time clock in mine hand. So be it, for I have spoken. You will pen now, Dharma, for I wish to tell you the truth about the crucifixion in brief detail. There will be a time when it is more fully brought unto you, for you ones do not yet understand the thought of God transference and manifestation, the illusion under which you all function. Let us speak of that which transpired in the scripting truth therein. There are some ones of thy human peoples who will be given credit for that which they did at that time, and this will be a format for so doing. After Izu's condemnation, he was most brutally treated. They, his adjudgers, bludgeoned and scourged his body until his lifeblood flowed upon the floors and ground. They placed upon his shoulders a heavy cross of wood, so that he would carry this great burden himself to the place of his death. The cross was heavy, and Immanuel writhed and moaned under his burden. His blood mixed with his sweat and was an evil mass. You ones flinch. You cannot be in the imagining of the scene, nor of the gift he gave unto you that day, for he did not have to bear this burden, and thank him for his willingness, for the lords of heaven, including myself, desired to smite the human races into the void. My child, Immanuel, collapsed under the heavy burden, for his strength left him. A stranger came along the path, named Simon of Cyrene, and he was forced to help carry the cross. He bore it humbly and gladly, for it was all he could do. It took long to reach the place called Golgotha, for the path there was difficult, but because he was mocked and beaten, and stones were cast forth upon him. Those along the path forced wine mixed with gall taken from animals into his mouth and spat upon him. When he refused to drink of the potions, they beat him more and forced it into his mouth. Ah, it was a hateful lot that day, children of earth. It was the custom to bind a person onto the cross with strapping, but not so for this Lamb of God. They forced him down on the cross, stretching his limbs and beating him, and they nailed his hands and his feet onto the wood. They placed the nails also through his wrists, tendons whereby the nails would not pull away through the flesh. After they impaled him upon the cross and put the cross upright into the post hole prepared, letting it fall the depth of the hole, that he might be jolted and jolted. They stripped him naked and shared his clothing among themselves and cast a lot for his robes of mockery. They laughed at his nakedness and spake vulgar jokes about his maleness. There was no degradation or debasement left unutilized that day. They sat and watched him lest someone would come and take down the cross. For you see, there is no way to get a man from a cross except to take it down and lay it out. It takes many men to lift a body and a cross up from a hole and lay it down, so it is usually left to fall. Elsewise, a scaffolding would be built upon which to stand. 2 murderers were crucified with him, one to his right and one to his left. Those who were around him blasphemed him and mocked him and laughed at him. Great sense of humor, you ones of earth. They screamed and said, "Since you are the king of wisdom, help yourself. Since you are the son of a celestial son and have great strength, why do you not get off the cross?" Likewise did the scribes from the temple and the Pharisees, the high priests and elders of the people mock him, and they said, "You helped others, but you cannot help yourself. Since you are a king of wisdom, get down from the cross and help yourself. And if you do that, we will believe in your teachings." Does this sound a bit familiar to you ones? If you will but prove unto us, then we will believe. Further they chided, he trusted in his wisdom in being the son of the angel Gabriel. Thus may his wisdom or the angel Gabriel save him if he wants to. But I was constrained to hold mine wrath, for it was to be Sananda's path, not mine. But mine wrath did not go unnoted. The sky became darkened and the sun was covered over, but not by clouds, and a great storm arose across the land, which did not happen often in that time of cycle. Mine son cried out, "I thirst, give me something to drink." And thereupon one of them went, took a sponge from a pail, filled it with vinegar, and put it on a pole, and gave it to him to drink. And then what did the kind ones in the crowd offer? Do not give him more to drink. Let us see for how long he can bear this. I would bear no more. And the thunder of mine voice rolled upon that place. And Emmanuel cried out again, but nobody understood him, for his speech seemed confused as he conversed with me. The whole of the land trembled, and the earth quaked. When mine son sets foot again on that place, the earth will split in a chasm of such depth it will have no bottom, and the multitudes will be cast within it, for it is the land of evil, for mine wrath is unbounded. Mine beloved's head fell forward, for I took his pain and consciousness unto myself, and that which man did that day shall be visited upon him in return in a day of nearness. For that which a man sends forth returns unto him in increased measure. Be most careful of that which you sow. Emmanuel fell into a deep coma, from which there appeared no breath, for I breathed for him, nor was there motion of any sign from his physicalness. The cruel mockers thought him dead. A soldier took his lance and pierced his loins to see whether or not Emmanuel was dead. From the wound came blood mixed with water, as is the case in a person who is dead or half dead from blood stagnation in a hanging stance. Since the soldier was sure Emmanuel was dead, he informed the other thereof. They were all astonished, for it was most unusual that one crucified would die so quickly. However, it had been a most dreadful day, and the earth still shook and tremored, and the sun was still covered, and hail came from the sky, where there were no clouds, and the sky was red with mine fury, for red is mine ray of vibration. God hATOnn angry? O ones, you shall soon be in the finding out just how angry. You ones of ours are no different. The heavens weep and boil when you are troubled and injured. All is marked into the records upon which man will stand and judge of self. All. Man will pray for death, and it will not be granted unto him, for he will face his crimes against the laws of creation. Within the crowd were also women and others who watched from the distance, for they were followers of Emmanuel and had served him, and they had come on to Galilee to stand with him. Among them was Mary, the mother of Emmanuel, and Mary Magdalene, and others who cared greatly for this peaceful man of perfection. When the mass of people went away, they came to him, knelt before the cross, and cried bitterly, for they too thought Emmanuel dead. However, among them was one man, Joseph of Arimathea, who was also a follower of Emmanuel. He watched Emmanuel closely, and knew Emmanuel was only deeply comatose, for I spoke unto him. He told no one. He went quickly into the city and to Pilate, and asked for the body of Emmanuel, so that he can bury him. Pilate ordered that Emmanuel's body was to be turned over to Joseph, for he wanted the entire circumstance quieted. Many then came with Joseph, and they gently took Emmanuel off the cross, and Joseph wrapped the body into a pure flaxen shroud, which he had prepared prior, and which would ultimately reflect the image of Emmanuel. Then Joseph and those with him carried the body of Emmanuel the long way to Jerusalem, and placed him outside of the city into his own tomb, which he had cut into a rock for his own burial place. He then had rolled a large rounded rock in front of the door of the tomb, and went away, in order to obtain some medicine in order to nurse Emmanuel. But the entrance was put under guard by soldiers, and Emmanuel's mother, Mary, lest anyone go in and steal the body. Joseph of Arimathea searched and found Emmanuel's friends from India, and went back with them to the tomb. They went to Emmanuel through a second entrance, which was a secret passage, and nursed him for 3 days and 3 nights, so that he was soon somewhat recovered, that he would have strength restored. The tomb remained in guarded state, for the priests and the Pharisees had gone to Pilate, saying, Lord, we considered what this crazy man said when he was still alive. I shall return after 3 days and 3 nights and rise, for I shall only be in a languor. Therefore, please continue the guard for the full time, lest the last deception may not be worse than the first ones. Pilate was most willing to grant such a request, for the incident was most distressing to him, and he wanted it all behind him. The soldiers then went to the tomb and sealed the rock which had been placed in the opening. They knew not, however, of the second opening, so assistants can go and come from the secret entrance without being seen. On the third day, Immanuel was strong enough to stand and walk. Easter was past, and the first day of the week had come, and 3 days and nights had also passed, after which Immanuel had said that he would live again after his apparent death. And behold, a great thunder arose in the air, and a radiant light came down from the sky and landed not far from the tomb on the earth. I had come to claim my son. I went to the tomb, and the soldiers moved aside, for they were terrified, but I raised my hand against them and struck them with lightning currents, one following another. They were stunned and fell to the ground, and were unconscious for a long time. Then I went to the tomb, rolled the stone away from the door, and said to Blessed Mary, Mother of Emmanuel, and Mary Magdalene, to not be afraid. I know that you are seeking and tending of Emmanuel, who was crucified. But I told them he was not there, for he lived, and showed unto them the place where he had lain. I waited upon mine son, and counseled him with him, for mine pain and anger were still most great. I told these beloved ones who stood watch that Emmanuel would walk before them to Galilee, and there they would see him. They were filled with confusion, for they thought him dead, and were distressed at the empty tomb. I told them to look not for the living among the dead, and to go forth to tell the disciples. I warned them to tell none other. They told no other, but the soldiers roused and were surprised at what had happened, and left hurriedly to go into the city and spread the news of what happened. They came to the high priest and the elders of the council to have a secret meeting, so that they would know what to lie onto the people. The soldiers were given a large sum of money to keep them silent, and were told to tell the people that Emmanuel's disciples had come at night and had taken his body. The soldiers took the money and did as requested. Mary and Mary Magdalene went away and did as I had told them, and again they were visited by an etheric being they considered to be me. Mary went to the guardian angel being, who wore a brilliant white garment and was radiant in aspect, and reached forth to grasp his hand. But he stepped back and explained that he was different in kind than them, and his garment was a protection against the world atmosphere and contamination. He further told them that if they persisted and touched him, they would be consumed by fire, for he was energy form. They were gently told to go their way and to do as instructed. As they went their way, they met Peter and another disciple, and told them what had transpired. Peter and the other disciple rushed to the tomb and found another of the disciples already there. They looked within and saw the shrouds neatly lying on the ground, and the first disciple was filled with fear and did not wish to go within the tomb. Peter came forth and went into the tomb and found everything like the disciple had seen. The shrouds were carefully folded and placed on the ground. Also there was the shroud which now bore the imprint of Emmanuel's features and body. Also there were the salves and herbs, along with some figures of clay that were quite strange in appearance. The men never had having seen such before. Peter and the other two disciples left the tomb after tending the remnants in security, and returned to the city to gather with the remaining disciples. Dharma, it is quite enough for you this day, Chela, for truth is difficult after thousands of years to change from fiction into fact. You ones who dare to scribe of truth are revered and cherished, and we will stand guard of thee that you fear not. I place mine seal upon this truth, that man may come to know. The records will be set to right, that the history show accurately, for you are in thy beginning times. So be it, for it is written in the heavens, so shall it come to pass upon thy place. All those things of the prophecies will be in the passing, and this is that you ones of light shall be in the safety of our wings of light. I sanction these words in truth, and thereby place mine holy benediction. I am that I am Gabriel, of the hierarchy of the holy lighted angelic realms. Come forth that you know of mine son, Sananda, in the light of the one God of the creation. So may you ponder these words of the crucifixion of Izu Emmanuel, now known as Sananda, one with and within God and the creation. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll be back with another episode of the Phoenix Truth Rising Show. This is the Spaceman 2.0, and I'm out.